Okay, so we're doing exercise 5b, and in this video we're going to go through 7f, which is asking us to sketch the graphs of each of the following relations stating the implied domain and the range of each. So here we're given y equals minus the square root of 25 minus x minus 2 squared. Immediately upon looking at this, we should know that we're dealing with a semicircle. And we should also be able to recognize some properties of it. First of which is the fact that we have a negative in front of our square root, which means we're going to be dealing with the bottom of a circle. Second, we can see this 25. This 25 tells me that my radius is going to be 5. And lastly, by looking at it, we can see that my center is going to be 2 and 0. Now, if you're having trouble recognizing all these properties about this semicircle, what you can do is put it into a standard form of a circle. But if you do this, just remember that although it's going to be in this form of a circle, it's still going to be a semicircle. We're just doing this to help our understanding. So let's now put it into this form. To do that, what we would do is square both sides, but actually before we do that, we have to deal with this negative. So to get rid of this negative, I'm going to divide both sides by -1. So I'm going to end up with -1. So negative y equals the square root of 25 minus x minus 2 squared. Now I'm going to square both sides to get rid of this square root. So I'm going to end up with y squared equals, this will go away. So I'll now just have 25 minus x minus 2 squared. Next, I'm going to move this x minus 2 squared over by plussing both sides by it. So I'm going to end up with x minus 2 squared plus y squared equals 25. Now that it's in this form, it's much easier now for me to identify my h and k. Obviously, my h and k is going to be 2 and 0. If you wanted to make it even more clearer, you could go that it's going to be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 5 squared. So here we can see that my h is 2, my k is 0, and my r, my radius, is 5. So this has just proved what we said up here, that my radius is 5 and that my center is 2 and 0. So now I can plot that information onto my graph, but before we do so, I just want to drive home the point again that all of this was just to aid our understanding. We've here written the equation of a circle, but we need to remember that we're dealing with a semicircle. So if I was to do it, so my radius is going to be 5, I'm going to be centered at 2, 0. So let me put that information down first. 2, 0 is here, and I'm going to label that as 2, 0. I then have a radius of 5. So I could grab this and go 5 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will be here, meaning this coordinate is going to be 2, 5. Then I could grab this and go 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be 2 minus 5. So as you can see here, I took my y value of the center and plus 5 and then minus 5. Now I'm going to go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is going to be 2 plus 5, which is going to be 7, 0. And I'm going to go 2, 0, I'm going to minus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 minus 5 is -3, 0. Now hopefully you realize something about what I've done. I've put in all 4 points of the radius, but do we need all 4 points? We're dealing with a semicircle, and because of this negative, we're dealing with the bottom half of it. So there's actually no need for me to write this one, because that would be the top half of my circle. I only care about this bottom bit. So now I'm going to come and grab this and give it a sketch. Whoops, if I can do it, there we go. So it's going to look something like this. I'm centered at 2, 0, and I have a radius of 5. So now I can answer what my domain and range will be. My domain, remember, it's an implied domain, which means we can tell by looking at it It's not explicitly told to us, but it's the x values which make sense for this, and it's clearly going to be from negative 3, x equals negative 3, all the way to x equals 7. So I can come here and I can write in negative 3 to 7. And I could also write it in a different way. I could write negative 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 7. Both are legitimate. Now I'm going to figure out what my range is. My range is going to be the set of all my y values. My lowest y value is going to be negative 5, and my highest y value is going to be 0. So I'm going to come and get my pen and write down that my range is going to be from negative 5 to 0. And and make sure you put square brackets. And once again, I could go or negative 5 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 0. A common mistake that I see often is when people are writing the range in this form, they forget to put a y here. We immediately just put an x here, but remember, if we're dealing with range, it should be a y. Hopefully this was helpful in answering 7F, and I'll see you in the next question.